We're continuing on in the study of Sri Sarada Devi and her divine play, the Divine Mother, God incarnating as the feminine, the divine feminine. And we're starting a section tonight called Spiritual Practices, which I think is going to be quite beautiful and probably quite challenging. Let me real quick close my door. My roommate is home. Just a second. All right. So we've seen really the intensity of Mother's practice. We've seen her unlimited dedication to Thakur and to her sense of service and to her ideal as the mother of all, of everyone, and how she just spared no ease in that. She just jumped completely into it, and we see in her something very unique. Actually, in any very holy person, you have that same feeling of that integrity that they live. The other day I did a vlog on how to comfort somebody when somebody has passed away. And one of the things that Ramakrishna says in that is that you can't be effective in giving that kind of comfort if you don't have that inner integrity where your words, your deeds, and your thoughts are all in alignment. Something will betray your hypocrisy or will betray your lack of integrity in your words. It's also the reason he also says that that's true for someone who teaches. Like if you stand up and give a lesson and you're not living the life, that your lesson will be forgotten as soon as they may enjoy it, maybe a nice exposition, but as soon as the class is over, it's forgotten because there's something very subtle that we pick up directly as listeners when someone doesn't have that kind of integrity. And in the Divine Mother, we find that divine integrity in spades. And so her words, even her words, when repeated, 150 years later by somebody who never met her, still can move us and still can have an impact on us, because even across that time and through all of that translation, we still can hear and see in her life that kind of integrity, that kind of strength. And it's one of the things that I find so beautiful, because Mother takes that strength, takes that integrity, and devotes it to us, devotes it to taking care of us and for teaching, and her kindness and her assurance in forgiveness and grace. I think in Mother, we can find that grace almost like no one else. Of course, that's an opinion thing, so don't take that to heart. But when Mother says that it's all right, that she's got you, that grace has covered you, those words go deep and they can change a life, and it's quite beautiful. So today we're going to jump into the practices that Mother went through. It didn't make her that way because she had always been that way, but it manifested this particular beauty in the Divine Mother. So we're on page 107 for those who are following along, titled Spiritual Practices. When divine beings assume a human form, they usually act like ordinary people, although their minds dwell in two planes, the divine and the human. Sometimes they remain absorbed in God consciousness, and other times they function in the world just like the rest of us. They eat, they sleep, they do their duties, and also practice spiritual disciplines. Swami Sharadananda, bearing Holy Mother's name, so obviously has a deep devotion for the Divine Mother, he wrote, "Avatars, or divine incarnations, do not have even the slightest trace of selfish desire. They have no wish to enjoy sensual pleasures here or hereafter, nor any intention of enjoying infinite bliss by liberating themselves while disregarding the fate of others in the world. The primary object of their quest is to investigate the unknown divine power that has helped them from their very birth." Their compassionate minds are therefore solely absorbed in the question of how they can gain full control over that divine power, ascend to higher and higher planes of consciousness at will, and stay there as long as they want, and then teach that technique to all people so that they too can attain peace. For this reason, the two powerful currents of sadhana, or spiritual practice, and compassion are seen constantly flowing side by side in their lives. And I love that motivation for peace, that their motivation in teaching you is that you might experience that inner peace that passes all understanding. And to do anything with that kind of goal is just so beautifully noble. As I read that, I was thinking to myself, kind of at the back, it's like, when was the last time that I actually did something to increase the peace in someone else's mind, from the outget? Not just that I was lucky to have that effect through something that was said at some point, but to actually decide you're going to do something or plan something, and your whole point in doing that something is to increase peace, to increase love, to increase joy in others. And I find that challenging, actually, as I sit here and think about it. There's so much room in our lives to do things for those reasons. I really think it would be lovely if we could take that into ourselves. And, when we plan our day, instead of like, okay, I've got to go to the bank, I have to go to the post office, so I have to pay my bills, so I have to get some groceries and make my bed and clean the house. Those are all things that have to be done, but they're all self-oriented things. Wouldn't it be nice if we woke up in the morning and thought, oh, today I should take that loaf of bread over to the new neighbors and just tell them that I'm happy they've moved there and see what I can find out about them. Or, today I'm going to go over and find out. I haven't seen Sandy down on the corner in a week. I better check in and see how she's doing, just, to make sure she doesn't feel like nobody cares. To have that kind of heart, to have that kind of feeling. This is what religion is. This is what it produces in us. It's not the point of religion. The point of religion is to know the truth, to become authentically human. But certainly one of the things that happens as we become authentically human is we become authentically loving, authentically caring, authentically empathizing with others. And to develop that, and to maybe pencil that into your day planner at the top. Today's item for producing peace for us. So we see Mother with these ideals, like all of the other incarnations, to dedicate herself to your peace, to my peace, to making sure that we know that with the beloved, within this moment, our experience of God is covered by grace, covered by love, and built on wisdom. And there's no need for fear in that. Perfect love casts out fear. Although the Master had transmitted the results of his sadhana to Holy Mother during the Shadashi Puja, he continued to train her in the practice of spiritual disciplines. To her, he was guru, father, mother, companion, husband, and God himself. Holy Mother witnessed her husband's complete conquest of lust and greed. She learned from him how to become a world teacher. The divine and the human manifested side by side in Holy Mother's life also. She demonstrated how the active life and the contemplative life can coexist. In the early hours of the morning, she was absorbed in samadhi on the veranda of the Nahabat. And that samadhi, is an absorption into that unity, becoming one with the divine. So really, at the most intimate level, knowing God is what samadhi is. At the most infinite level, where your sense of separation, you've taken off all of your clothing of separation from the divine. And then you've taken off your body as well, and you've become that pure spirit, and that spirit, they dances together in a beautiful. Well, what do I know of that? But certainly, I can. It when you when you see these divine beings together, we know of that love. We know of that intimacy and that sweetness and the fun. Tagore, the way he is with Mother is quite delightful. I've read places where he compliments her on her sari when he sees God as the Divine Mother, not talking about Sri Sarada Devi and her manifestation, but when he saw the manifestation of the divine, and he would compliment Mother on her sari and and whatnot. And so this intimacy with God is what we're reading and what we're seeing in the Divine Mother and in Tagore and in all these spiritual greats. And it's the point of going through this and doing this so that we're changed, we're transformed, set free is even a better way of saying it. We're set free from our vices. We're set free from our selfishness and set free from our ignorance. And when we're set free, the natural thing that we do is manifest our beloved, manifest God. So in the early hours of the morning, she was absorbed in that samadhi on the veranda of the Nahabat. During the day, she was busy cooking and serving the master and others. And while that rice or dal was cooking, she would sit on one of the steps heading up to the upper floor of the Nahabat and repeat her mantra. She later said, "My child, it is a great fortune to have a human birth. One must call on God wholeheartedly. One should practice hard. Is it possible to achieve anything without intense discipline? One should make time for spiritual practices in between household chores." So there we see her priorities there, that for her, that spiritual practice was the first thing that would come to mind when she had free time. And I heard a really challenging definition one time of earnestness by a Swami. The Swami says, you're earnest about that which you choose to do when you're free, when you have your free time. And so this is a good calling to us, not to make you feel guilty, just to say, hey, if you don't do this, this is part of our ideal. This is part of what we're moving toward. And so when we have that extra time, that free time, don't do what I've done. Don't play a game of solitaire. Don't run over to Reddit and lose 2 hours of browsing time. And if you are going to do those things, you can do those things integrated with the presence of the divine. So you can sit there and talk about what you're seeing in Reddit with the beloved. You can sit there and watch your favorite TV program aware of the presence of God and, drive everybody crazy by talking to someone they can't see in the room with you. But you see how you can spiritualize your life that way. Everything that you do, when you think you're alone, can be turned and changed when you come to realize you're never alone, that there's always that divine self, that divine energy, that divine being, the presence of God is always there, the presence of pure love and that presence of pure grace. And you can use that all the time to lift your mind and your moods and your ideals, and to leave behind the things that have caused you suffering in your life, the vices and selfishness that has caused pain. This can lift you out of it. And if you have engaged in it, this can lift you out of that horrible shame or guilt that sometimes follows those activities. And it's always a good practice, because quite often when we do fall into wrongdoing, whatever that might look like for us, quite often it's our practice that suffers because of shame or because a guilt around it, and you just don't feel like you can go to the mother or to Tagore or to Jesus or Buddha or whoever is the ideal of your practice, that you don't feel comfortable doing that. And there's no space for that, not because it's wrong in that sense, but because it's unnecessary. It's amazing how much God, in all of her and his carnations in this world, has given us one message above and beyond everything, and that is grace is sufficient for you. that God's grace, God's love is unconditioned, you know? And I refuse to play that spiritual game of, having God's love be unconditioned and then and then making it look conditioned, you know? It's like God is love, and God is in you and around you and of you and everywhere present. And so do the contrary. When you've failed or fallen in your practice, go immediately to the shrine and sit there and look at the discomfort and understand to the level that you're uncomfortable, to that level you're lacking your faith and grace. You're not accepting Mother's kindness. And so sit there and think about that grace. And through that knowledge of grace and through that kindness of the beloved within, as it heals the rifts within us, uh, as that healing happens, then life becomes inspiration. And spiritual life becomes opportunity as opposed to duty. And it changes everything. So we see that in Mother here, taking the time and keeping the priority that her practice is the most important thing. And yes, she has to cook, and yes, she has to clean, and yes, she has to teach and train her disciples. But at the same time, whenever there's spare time in between, she's doing her japam. She's repeating the name of God. She's experiencing samadhi, that communion with the divine. It is wonderful to visualize Holy Mother sitting on the western veranda of the Nahabat, absorbed in a deep meditation in the dark hours of early morning. She recalled, "At Dakshineshwar, I used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sit in meditation. Often I totally forgot my body and the world. Once, in a moonlit night, I was repeating the mantra, sitting near the steps of the Nahabat, and the whole area was quiet. Generally, when the master went to the pine grove to answer the call of nature, I would hear the sound of his sandals, but that day I didn't hear anything. I was absorbed in deep meditation. In those days, I used to wear a red bordered sari and jewelry. As I meditated, a gentle breeze blew the upper corner of my red bordered cloth off my back, but I did not know it. The boy Yogan, later Yogananda, was carrying the water pot for the master, and he saw me in that condition. Ah, those were unforgettable days. Another day, while I was in meditation, the maid servant Brinda shoved a brass plate in front of me with a bang. The sound hit me and penetrated, as it were, into my heart, and I cried out." So this, the difference of Mother's meditation and my own, forgetting the world, forgetting the body. I was thinking about that the other day. I was sitting there having a very restless meditation with Mother. And I was sitting there at the shrine, I had already checked the clock twice to see if I could, if I could get up yet. And, this, it occurred to me at that time as I was sitting there, I was like, God, you can't even forget about the clock, let alone your body. This is amazing. What a difference in the meditation of a holy man, and it encouraged me to sit there, to deepen, to try and work a little bit harder in my practice to become to really see, that meditation and time with the beloved can't be that way. You can't just be watching the clock. What friend is going to hang out with you? If any of your friends catch you looking at your watch because time with them is so torturous that you want to go home immediately, it's not going to do a lot for your friendship. It's not going to do a lot for that relationship. And so it's good to remember that and to understand that we should treat the beloved with at least as much respect as we treat our friends. That we shouldn't sit there in restlessness for time to be finished. We should investigate how we can make this time more meaningful, how we can make that time more deep, and how we can experience God in a way that inspires us to be there and takes away the tang of duty and replaces it with the joy or the depth of love, that relationship in there. Patanjali listed 9 obstacles to spiritual life: disease, laziness, doubt, lack of enthusiasm, lethargy, clinging to sense enjoyment, false perception, difficulty attaining concentration, and difficulty maintaining concentration. So these are the 9 obstacles. And, probably we're all familiar with many of them. And there's probably 1 or 2 or 3 of them in there that really speak to us. So these are the things that stand in our way, the reasons that were not realized yet. All seekers face those obstacles to some degree in their spiritual journey. Even Holy Mother, she said, one should shun laziness and practice japam and meditation regularly. Once in Dakshineshwar, I was unwell and did not get up at 3 o'clock. I felt lethargic. Well, look at that standard. She wasn't up at 3. She blames it on laziness. So you see, of course, to be fair, India runs a little bit on a different time schedule, actually. Not to downplay getting up at 3 in the morning. It's still very early, but quite often I know a lot of. What's that?
Did she say she was unwell?
Not at this time. She wasn't. She has been at times. She was sick, but she slept in past 3 a.m. But in India, they get up quite early in the morning because the day is so hot and muggy. So they get up and enjoy the morning time, and then they catch up with it in the afternoon when they lay down and take a 2 or 3 hour nap in the afternoon. And the culture is pretty much unanimously built around that schedule. I remember the first time I went to India, after I joined the order, the second time, I guess, that I went to India. And I was in the PPTC, and that we used to have to get up at 3 there as well because we had to be in the shrine. I think it was 4, we had to be in the shrine. And I remember thinking, that I wasn't going to take a nap because I don't like naps and I never take naps. So I thought, I'm not going to take a nap. So in the afternoon, when everybody else was laid down for a nap, I went out and walked around, and all the shops were closed. The temple was closed. All of the offices were closed. There were no swamis around. So the next day I took a nap. It's like, when in India, do as Indians do. Take your nap. So these 9 obstacles in spiritual life, these are a good list to keep. And so when you feel them, you can recognize them and name them and be like, oh, there it is. There's that obstacle. And the great thing about obstacles, you just bend over, pick them up, and get them out of the way. They're not permanent. And so if you recognize an obstacle, pick it up and throw it aside and go forward. One should shun laziness and practice japam and meditation regularly. Once in Dakshineshwar, I was unwell and did not get up at 3 o'clock. I felt lethargic. The next day, I got up even later. And isn't that the way it is? You give yourself one morning of sleeping in, and the next morning you sleep in 10 minutes more beyond that level. And pretty soon you're looking at 9, 9:30, 10 in the morning, back to the days when you were a teenager. The next day, I got up even later. This happened on several successive days. Gradually, I felt that I no longer had the inclination to get up early. So you change. Habits change you. So I no longer had the inclination to get up early. At once I realized that it was a trick of the mind and that laziness had possessed me. I then forced myself to get up at the usual time and resumed my previous habit. One cannot succeed in spiritual life without firm determination. Right? Yeah. So we don't adopt our new state as our new normal. We come to realize, look, I've been tricked. My mind has tricked me into not making time for my practice, or to spending time sleeping rather than doing my practice, or whatever, coming up with excuses. And to catch that and understand this is a trick for your demise. And so you won't be successful without that dedicated sincerity around your practice. She says right there very clearly, one cannot succeed in spiritual life. And what is success? What is success in spiritual life? It's seeing God. It's knowing God personally. This is the success of spiritual life. And we can't have that if we don't have this firm determination to constantly hold ourselves to our ideal and always strive with a real striving. Um, you know, it's hard to talk about these things for me because so many of these things now, as I ruminate on them and think about them, there's so much room for improvement. So much room for improvement for our practice. So don't settle, don't compromise. Call yourself back to your ideal. Remember how you felt when you first started, the excitement of having your mantra, the excitement of your practice. I remember when I first got my mantra back in 99 in India from Pravajika Moksha Prana. Man, those days were amazing for practice because I started every meditation with a firm belief that this could be my last meditation, that I could realize God. Because I was very naive, because I remember, you read in the gospel and everybody's popping out into samadhi left and right. And it looks like it's normal, like, oh, wow, of course. And so when I got my mantra, I was so excited. I couldn't wait to experience samadhi. And so every time I sat down, I didn't want to get up. I can remember sitting there one time when I was in my hotel room in Rishikesh. I remember sitting there for several hours meditating. When I opened my eyes, it had already gotten dark, and I just closed my eyes and kept meditating because I kept thinking, just around the corner, and this will be done. I remember my friend Philip was with me, and we were at a restaurant one day, and I I don't know what happened, some little visual blip, where I, how something happens, you you see a ripple in time or something. Anyway, I sat there and I put my hands on the table and I told Philip, I think it's happening. And he looks at me and he's like, what's happening? And I said, I think enlightenment is happening. And, he was very kind because he had been a long time practitioner even then. He didn't laugh in my face. That came later, but he was like, oh, that's great. That's good. Yeah, stay with it. And I look back and think how kind that was of him to encourage me like that. But, I look back and I'm kind of sorry that I've become jaded in that way, that I don't sit and meditate and expect realization, because that's not true. That potential is always there because it's a matter of grace. There's a wonderful poem by Hafiz, that this guy reminds me of right here, because in this poem, this person was whirling on the roof of their house, dancing in divine joy. And Hafiz writes in the poem, he said, oh, if you had only spun 2 more times, the beloved and I would have had time to come and join you. But you quit 1 spin too early, and we arrived and you had already left. And so have that kind of faith in your practice and in grace, so that when you sit for your meditation, understand that it's not just a manipulation of mind to have the expectation that you're going to realize God, but that's part of being faithful. That's part of faithfulness, is to believe that at any moment, Mother can bring you home. Mother will teach you, And so to sit with that kind of eagerness in your practice and hold yourself to your ideals and keep that firm determination in place. Don't lose that. Stay forever young in your practice. That's what I say. So, stay ever young in it. Enjoy the presence of God. Enjoy the potentials of what's being presented to you, what the possibilities are. Later one day, Holy Mother said to her niece Nalini, when I was your age, I worked very hard. And in spite of that, I used to repeat the mantra 100,000 times every day. There it is. working very hard, and she still repeated her mantra 100,000 times every day. Even if that mantra was 3 letters long, that's an outrageous commitment. But you see what we're dealing with here. These are the greats. These are the incarnations. These are the holy men and women, that are the foundation that we're standing on. And this is our potential. This is our possibility. 100,000 times a day. When the master was practicing sadhana at Dakshineshwar and the Holy Mother was in Kamarpakur, she and Lakshmi received initiation with a Shakti mantra from a monk named Swami Purnananda. When the Holy Mother later came to Dakshineshwar, the master wrote a mantra on her tongue and initiated her. He asked her to offer that previous mantra at the feet of her Ishta. He also taught her mantras for different gods and goddesses and transmitted his spiritual experiences to her so that she could conduct her spiritual ministry. Later, when Holy Mother initiated her disciples, she told them, "The mantras I give were taught to me by the Master. These are Siddha mantras." That mother means that one can attain God by repeating these mantras. After receiving her mantra from the Master, Holy Mother told Lakshmi, "The Master wrote a mantra on my tongue. Why don't you go to him and ask for a mantra?" When Lakshmi went to the Master, he wrote on her tongue a seed mantra of Radha Krishna, which was a Vaishnava mantra. When Lakshmi informed him that she had already been initiated with a Shakti mantra, the Master replied, "It does not matter. I gave you the right mantra." Right? That's faith in the Guru being taught right there. Whenever an opportunity arose, the Master would give spiritual instructions to Holy Mother and Lakshmi. One evening, he spoke at length to them about the gopis' love for Krishna. At the end of his talk, he said to Lakshmi, "Discuss what you have heard from me with your aunt tonight. You have seen the cows eating grass in the field during the daytime. At night, they chew the cud. Similarly, you should go over with your aunt what you have learned now. Then you will not forget my words." When I took a class on how to study when I was in high school, and that was one of the things that they said was, in class, take your notes, and then after class, go home and rewrite your notes. And they said that you'll be extremely surprised at how much better you can recall these things and remember these things just by doing simple things like that. And this is an opportunity to talk about spiritual things. So after you've heard a good lecture, when you're out in the lobby, grabbing your donut and coffee, if that's available. I was thinking of growing up in church. But when you're out there in the lobby having your donuts and coffee, talk about the lecture, talk about the points that you heard, that you remembered, and ask people, what did you hear? What did anything touch you? Talk about these things so that they're brought up in your mind, so that they're fresh and they become a part of your experience of the moment. Reminders of grace in the moment are always beautiful. Reminders of unconditioned love in the moment are always amazing helps in spiritual life. Always remembering that things are not as you see them is a great help. Remembering always that this moment is your only reality, and letting go of your story because of that, letting go of your past, letting go of your thoughts about the future, and just being present. That's an amazing gift. You see, so if we take these teachings and we use them in the moment, manifest them in the moment, they become part of our reality. They become a sense of bliss that arises when you remember that all things pass. A sense of freedom when you know that none of this will last forever. It will bring you back to what's important. So it's a self-fulfilling circle that is beautiful and a great advantage in spiritual life. So here she's teaching that to us. Similarly, you should go over with your aunt what you have learned now, and then you will not forget my words. Many years later, when someone read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna to Holy Mother, she said, "The Master used to give me such fine instructions. If only I had known how to write, I would have noted down his words. On another occasion, the master drew a diagram of the 6 centers of the Kundalini on a piece of paper and gave it to the Holy Mother. Unfortunately, it was lost. She later lamented, "Ah, how could I have known then that so many things would happen in connection with the master? I lost that diagram of the 6 centers of the Kundalini and could not trace it anywhere." Once a young woman came from Calcutta, and when she was in the Nahabat, she was overwhelmed with spiritual emotion and accidentally kicked over and broke the water jar. The all-forgiving mother was not upset. On the contrary, she asked the master, "Well, why could I not have ecstasy like her?" It's a cute little story, but think about it for a minute. What was mother's mind on when the woman kicks over and breaks the water pot? How many of us would not be pulled into thinking about the broken water pot and cleaning up the water and taking care of the mess and scolding the woman or whatever? Our minds would be completely there. Whereas mother's mind, she was in spiritual. Why couldn't I have spiritual ecstasy like she was in? She has an eye to see those things, the important things, the beautiful things. And that's what happens with this kind of practice, is we become oriented toward the divine. We see the best first. That's how you know when spiritual life is progressing. When you begin seeing the best in people first. When you begin feeling love at the sight of people first. This is when spiritual life is maturing, ripening in you, so that we don't hold faults, we don't see mistakes, we don't see problems and look for problems. Instead, we've always got our eyes on love, on the divine, on solutions, on being better, on doing better. Well, why could I not have ecstasy like her? The master consoled her, saying, "Oh, they are city girls. They indulge in excitement and are shameless. They are like one who has one leg on a..." Oh my goodness, this is that story. All right. They are city girls. They indulge in excitement and are shameless. He's referencing really, I think in the original, he's referencing prostitutes, not city girls. They are like one who has one leg tied to a banyan tree and the other leg tied to another banyan tree, a bell tree, different tree. So, it's not a very flattering. It's not a very flattering image. They indulge in excitement and are shameless. They are like one who has one leg on a banyan tree and the other leg on a bell tree. They chew the entire goat and then swallow it. Why do you want to be like them? You will achieve everything. Please wait. You have a bashful nature. You belong to a higher realm. Compared to you, those women are in a lower state. Have you not heard about the subterranean river? And here's a footnote on the subterranean river. According to the Ramayana, when Dasharatha died, Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita were in exile near the shore of the Falgu River in Gaya. Rama and Lakshmana went to take a bath. Meanwhile, Dasharatha appeared to Sita and asked for a pinda, or a sacrificial cake. Sita asked him to wait, but he insisted on having a pinda from her, and so she offered it to him. When Rama came, Sita told him what had happened, but he did not believe it. The Falgu River was a witness. Sita requested it to testify, but it remained silent. Then Sita cursed the river. Henceforth, you will go below the sand and flow invisibly. All right. So anyway, we see the quality of the mother even in a I don't know who this woman was that kicked over that water pot, but she might have been one of these folks. And it would be someone like Holy Mother that would see a person like that and see them make a mistake and then want to be like them because she assumed they're holy, they were holy, that they had this high spiritual accomplishment. That's really seeing the best in others. That's really identifying the highest in each other. It's a beautiful ideal to have. One day, Narendra came to Dakshineshwar and the master asked him to sing a song. Narendra tuned the tanpura and began to sing. You are my all in all, O Lord. the life of my life, the essence of my essence. In the three worlds, I have none else but you to call my own. You are my peace, you're my joy, you're my hope, you're my support, you're my wealth and my glory. You are my wisdom and my strength. You are my home, my place of rest, my dearest friend, my next of kin, my present and my future. You, my heaven and my salvation. You are my scripture. You are my commandments. You are my ever gracious Guru. You, the spring of my boundless bliss. You, the way. You, the goal. You, the adorable one, O Lord. You are the mother, tender-hearted. You are the chastising father. You, the creator and protector. You, the helmsman who steers my craft across this sea of life. The master went into samadhi. As he listened to the song in the Nahabat, Holy Mother and Yoganma listened to Narendra's devotional singing, and they were greatly moved. Later, the master told Holy Mother, "Let me tell you this. You have heard Narendra's song, 'You are my all in all, O Lord.' Please meditate on that song for a few days." All right, so that's our homework. There's your homework directly from the master. Take this song that we just read for your meditation for the next few days. Just read over that and enjoy this, and know that it put your beloved into ecstasy and the Divine Mother into a spiritual mood.
Mommy, can you get us that prayer?
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
Or maybe someone could take a picture and put it in the chat or something. I don't know how exactly.
Yeah, no, that can be done, and it probably will be done. If not, I'll do it after it's over today. I'll take a picture and put it up in the WhatsApp if I can figure that out. So please meditate on that song for a few days.
Raj?
Yes?
Yeah, this is the same one that we read a few days ago in the gospel, right?
Yeah, it is. Really. Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. It really takes you there as you read it just slowly and contemplatively. It's quite lovely.
Oh, well, then we could just have a page number. Most of us probably have the gospel.
I can give.
Yeah, Kapila shared that with us, Swami, the song.
Yeah, I'll share it. I'll take a picture of it and send it and put it up afterwards.
No, the song itself.
Oh.
She knew that song and she shared it.
Oh, the
in
Bengali version of it.
Yeah. We'll probably some people, one or two people might want an English version. I don't know. We'll put up the English also, so it's both there. So that's one of the Bengali songs you put up. I heard from Greg you'd done that. That's cool. That's very cool, actually. Thanks for doing that, Kamala. A spiritual attitude towards work evolves from work and worship to work as worship, and finally to work is worship. All right, see that progression? This is what we're working on right here. At first, there's work and worship, two different things for us. But as we practice, we work as worship. So we practice doing our work as worship. And then finally, we understand work is worship. There's no difference. There's no boundary of practice. We are that. Holy Mother never felt any difference between work and worship. Despite her heavy household work, she made time for japam and meditation. During her spare time, she picked flowers from the garden to make garlands for the image of Mother Kali. Holy Mother could also sing well. One night, she and Lakshmi were singing in low voices, and the master heard them from outside. The next day, he said to Holy Mother, Last night I heard you singing, and you seemed to be absorbed. That's very good. The Mahabharata says, gentleness conquers the hearts of the cruel as well as the kind. There is nothing in this world that gentleness cannot conquer. So gentleness is a powerful virtue. Holy Mother was the embodiment of gentleness and modesty. Because she lived in the temple garden of Dakshineshwar, a public place, the master always protected her from the gaze of outsiders. That is why there was a bamboo screen around the Nahabat. He even forbade his nephew Ramlal to visit the Nahabat without a purpose, in order to give Holy Mother privacy. Once Hriday brought prasad from the Radhakanta temple to Holy Mother and Lakshmi and chatted with them for a long time. The master scolded him. When you go to the Nahabat, return immediately after finishing the errand. Be careful. Do not spend long time there, indulging in jokes and laughter. So he really was protecting Mother's practice, and of course, his practice too. A musician named Nilkanta came to Dakshineshwar and sang for the master. The master was very fond of his singing, and he knew that Holy Mother and Lakshmi loved to hear kirtan. He therefore told Ramlal, please keep the north door open of my room open. There will be a current of ecstasy and devotion here with singing and dancing. They must hear and see, otherwise how will they learn? As the woman stood behind the bamboo screen of the Nahabat, they watched the master sing and dance through the hole in the screen. When he saw the hole, the master humorously remarked, "Oh, Ramlal, the hole in your aunt's bamboo screen is becoming larger and larger." All right. Holy Mother was an eyewitness to the master's God-intoxicated life. Perhaps he was trying to share with her his divine intoxication, vision, and samadhi. At the same time, he was trying to evaluate her understanding of spiritual ecstasy. One day, the master was returning from the Kali temple when Holy Mother was sweeping his room and making his bed. As he walked through the paved courtyard, his eyes were bloodshot and his legs unsteady. He looked like a drunkard. When he entered the room, he touched Holy Mother and asked, "Hello, have I drunk wine?" Surprised, Holy Mother immediately replied, No, you have not drunk wine." The master then asked, "Then why am I tipsy? Why can't I talk properly? Am I drunk?" No, she assured him. "Why would you be intoxicated like an ordinary drunkard? You are drunk with ecstatic love for the Divine Mother." The master calmed down and then joyfully replied, "You're right." In those days in Dakshineshwar, many spiritual aspirants would visit the master, and he would introduce the women aspirants to Holy Mother. One day, a Bhairavi, or a tantric nun, came to Dakshineshwar. The master said to the Holy Mother, "Today a Bhairavi will come. Please dye a cloth with ochre for her, and I shall present it to her." The Bhairavi came after worshipping Mother Kali and had a long conversation with the master. She stayed at Dakshineshwar for a few days. She looked after Holy Mother, but she had a hot temper and was sometimes intimidating. Once she told the mother, "Keep some rice soaked in water, which has a cooling effect for me, or I will pierce you with this trident." When Holy Mother expressed her fear to the master, he replied, "Don't be afraid. She is a real Bhairavi. That is why her temper is a little bit hot." During meditation, Holy Mother would forget time and space. Oh my gosh, there's another challenge. So not only was she forgetting her body and her clothing, she's now forgetting even time and space. But a desire came to her to experience ecstasies as Gaurima did. One day she asked the master through Lakshmi to fulfill her desire. The master said in reply, "Why does she wish to have ecstasies? Gauri is a girl from Kaligat with a masculine nature. She can withstand public criticism. It is good for her, Holy Mother, to suppress spiritual emotion." Then quoting a proverb, he said, "A female with a calm and sweet nature develops strength and attains success. A woman should lead a life of steadiness and humility. Modesty is her religion. If she loses it, people will speak ill of her. Let's pause there for the night.